After you watched the episode where you died, what was it like to see yourself die?
I've died many deaths. I've been killed off in a lot of films. My mother was asked that question. She'll be 100 in May. She said, what's it like to see your son's head chopped off? She said, oh, I've seen him die a lot. So,
but perhaps never so graphically.
Well, no, not really, but in Cold Blood I was hanged. Shot, stabbed. I've been killed a lot of different ways. But it was interesting that he got to put a little smile on his face before he died.
Now, what happened to that head?
Well, I have a copy of that head in my closet at home. It's in a trash bag. That's the one with the brains. I try to protect them. This one doesn't have.
Do you think that your character was longer in the series because they didn't really have the Tyree character from the comic book?
You know, what goes on in that writer's room is way beyond me. They're very talented and they're very capable. I know that your question reminded me of something from the comic book. It sits in cell 100, and somehow or other that's very relevant if you've read the comics, which I haven't. But 100, I don't know if that meant it was the 100th issue of the comics, or it was a particular cell that a certain character stayed in, but it was relevant. So I don't know how. I have been told recently that Tyrese was the one that was beheaded, but I don't know the circumstances or anything around it.
I think they do take things that happen in the comics and place them at other points in the series and attribute them to other characters. What does amaze me is how carefully plotted the whole storyline is, and the abandonment with which they kill main characters in this series. I mean, that's it breaks all the tenets of network television. You don't kill off your heroes, but they do. Tell us about Herschel as the moral compass of the show.
Dale filled that role when he was there. Jeffrey DeMunn, who was a wonderful actor, but he was kind of represented the moral compass and the person of conscience on the show. And then, for various different reasons that I'm not totally fully aware of, they killed him off. And I kind of inherited that mantle of being the moral compass, if you will, which was kind of interesting because you really don't want to be preaching and apostolizing while you're trying to set an example. I didn't want to do that, and then I spoke to the writers about it. I said I'd rather lead by example to show how he would deal with something rather than preaching to people and telling them how they should behave. So I think he basically was looking for the humanity in everyone that he came across, and he was looking for the humane way to deal with situations. That had a lot to do, I think, in this episode where he didn't want people to see the walkers being stabbed and being taken out. He didn't want the kids to see it. He didn't want people who were going to be dying themselves, maybe, to see what would be happening to them. He was wanting to create hope for them. And I think that was his think that's what he was trying to do. And I think that's not a bad thing to want to do, or for a character to want to do.
It goes directly to the Steinbeck quote that was mentioned in that thing. I mean, each episode seems to have, beyond the larger themes of the series, each episode seems to have its own theme, and some are more subtle than others. I mean, this was a very powerful episode.
Who's been your favorite actor that you've worked with on the show?
Gosh, I really have loved working with them all. You know, I had the advantage of seeing the first season, 6 shows that they did the first season before I became involved with the show. So I looked at them and said, yeah, I'd like to be involved with this. I mean, the first question I got when they approached me, and did I say this earlier? They were talking about me doing 2 or 3 episodes. And I said, well, okay, tell me about it. And they said, well, it's about zombies. Okay. Tell me something good. And they said Frank Darabont and Gail Ann Hurd. And Frank Darabont was the creative force behind it. The 2 of them are producers who've made, and Frank is a director, who've made a lot of wonderful films that I liked, and the public liked them as well. So I paid attention as soon as I heard their names. And then an hour later, 20 minutes later, I got a call saying 10 or 11 episodes. And 10 minutes later, I got a call saying at least 10 this season, maybe next season. I said, forget next season, let's talk about this season. So who did I think was the most, yeah. Well, I've had a lot of great scenes with Rick, with my daughters, with Maggie, with Glenn. There are other actors on the show I wish I'd had more scenes with Carol, with Daryl, with you know, a lot of the characters. If you've seen the show, you know who I've been working with, and I have really enjoyed working with all of them. But Rick is fantastic. He's like, they all are, but he's like the driving force on the show. He's #1 on the call sheet, which means he's the star of the show, and he is. And he sets the tempo. He sets the work ethic. He's there early. He's there every second, all day. And if he's going to do that, everyone else has to do it. Not that they wouldn't, but he sets the tempo.
On the Talking Dead last night, he called you a pirate. Why would he say such a thing?
He was probably remembering the one hole that I beat him at in golf.
What was it like working with all of these special effects on the show? You know, when we see the end result, it looks as realistic as it can for what's going on, but when you're behind the scenes and you don't have those special effects, what is it like to work in that kind of environment?
That's great. That's an interesting question, too, because film is really a collaborative medium, and the special effects guy, Daryl Pritchett, does an incredible job with the special effects. And he and the Walker special effects stuff, all that blends in very great. Film, maybe I just said it, but film is a collaborative medium. You bring all of the art forms together when you're making a film. You can be a clothing designer, you can design clothes, you can be a painter, you can be someone who blows up things, you can be someone who does special effects, an actor, a cameraman who's framing your music. It literally, a painter who's painting sets, a grounds person. The prison was really the back lot of the studios we were working at. And that was a product of the art director. I mean, so all those things come into play to create the environment, create the atmosphere that makes it credible, that makes it possible for the audience to get involved in what they're looking at.
Is there a particular aroma on the set when you're killing zombies?
Aroma?
Yeah, what's it smell like?
I try to smoke cigars.
There was a question on the show, The Talking Dead last night, that was, what do you think was a bigger loss of the group, the loss of the prison or a loss of Herschel, and why?
I didn't see the show. But what do I think? Maybe they're one and the same in a way. Even though I think it's interesting, early on, Herschel at one point was saying they should leave the prison, that they'd had enough losses there. And then he started taking the position that they should stay. So, you know, they're in an apocalyptic world. I guess that the nature of the show is they will be rolling from one place to the other from now on, with temporary havens that allows you to catch up with who they are, how they've changed, or how they're